I'm Jessica.
And I'm Melissa, and welcome to our very first Sister Sit Down.
Not quite sure how this is going to unfold, but it's going to be really good, so we're excited.
All right, so we have some questions here that people were asking. If you want to start with what is a Sister Sit Down? Who is that from?
So that's from Darsha Anna. Thank you so much. We love questions, and not entirely sure what a sister sit down is, but we just thought there are a ton of other cool sculpting providers out there, and there's also just a general interest in cool sculpting from the public, and we thought who better to answer questions than people who eat, live, sleep, and breathe cool sculpting, are related, are business partners, and get you guys some really transparent, honest answers so you could get the goods on what you're wanting to know.
So for those of you who may or may not know us, I'm Melissa and this is Jessica, and we are sisters. And you don't have to ask.
Tell.
I am the older one.
Good
It always
question.
makes her sad when people ask. So, but yeah. Anyway, so let's start. Number one, you two have such a passion. How do you keep it going? This is from Lauren.
I think that's a really interesting question. I think one of the things we talked to somebody about the other day is my sister and I are completely committed to success, and we're not really attached to how that looks. And so I think from a very high level, we're constantly looking for new information, new strategies, new tools, new tactics to kind of stay at the top of our game. But I think more than anything, our clients and our team just keeps us passionate because it's really fun to transform bodies, and it's really fun to have a culture and an environment where people come in and they just want to be. So even if we weren't passionate about it, our clients and our team make us stay that way because it's fun and it rocks.
Yeah, and I feel like, we're really blending both of our passions. I love the customer service side, the luxury side, the transformative side with the cool sculpting treatment, and Jessica really loves the marketing and sales side. So I think, both of us stay in our lanes, and we're really excited what we do every single day, and that's how we stay so passionate.
And something we've always said is good, bad, right, or wrong. How people actually feel on their skin impacts their entire day. For example, in the morning, if you pull on those pants and they feel a little bit tighter than they did the day before, watch out, world. And so for us, the fact that we have a solution for that, and it's not invasive, it's predictable, it's consistent, and that we guarantee a result, I think that's really exciting too, because people just struggle with it, and we love that in our own way. We can spark joy, uplift humanity, and send people on their way to feel happier and be better humans.
All right, Jess, you're up.
Next question. So can you freeze knee fat? Good question.
Knee fat. Yes, we love to freeze knee fat. Usually, though, we like to set proper expectations. You're not going to see this incredible, huge change from freezing your knee fat. If we're looking at somebody's inner knee, we only have, about this much fat, and we're getting rid of about 20% of it each. It's not going to be a huge change, but if that's the only area on your body, which lucky you, that bothers you, we can certainly do it.
Yeah, something we always tell people, sometimes when they come in and they have knee fat, they tend to be leaner people, but we also feel that sometimes when you're leaner, you're more cued into subtle changes, and so sometimes, a change from here to here does make a marked difference just in how you feel. So it's a really good area to treat if that is, as Melissa said, one of the areas that plagues you, and as long as we're setting proper expectations.
Yeah, and we have lots of before and after photos that we can show clients, and we just have to set that expectation for this amount of money and this amount of time that you're going to invest in it. Is this result worth it?
Absolutely.
All right, so how did Bodify come to be? What makes you guys want to go into business together? Thanks, Amanda.
This is my favorite question. Probably starting at the age of 5 and 7, we had lemonade stands, we had scrunchy businesses. We just always knew that we wanted to do business together. Both my parents were entrepreneurs, so dinner table discussions were not, oh, I hate my boss, and oh, should I go get a new job? It was much more entrenched in an entrepreneurial spirit, so I just believe it was in our DNA. Melissa and I kind of ebbed and flowed throughout our lives and went in different directions, and never really had an interest in what she was doing, nor did she really ever take an interest in any of the passions that I wanted to pursue. And then cool sculpting came into Melissa's life, and I immediately knew it was something that I personally wanted to do. And then after a few years, I finally just quit my job, jumped ship, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do, and Melissa can tell you the rest of the story.
Yeah, so we brought her on the team, and we just both fell in love with cool sculpting and how it transformed people's lives, and we both actually really enjoyed working with each other. We always laugh, we'll spend a 10, 12-hour day together, and as soon as we leave and we're in the parking garage, we're
calling
on the phone, still talking on the way home, so that part has been really fun. But I think, I don't know now, I'm gonna fail.
So she worked for a business, a cool sculpting practice.
So yeah, I worked for a cool sculpting practice, loved what I was doing, wanted to buy the business. Jess kind of encouraged me to, ask if I could buy the practice from the physician. We sent in the proposal, it didn't work, so we decided to go out on our own, and we were just sent off with love. And the physician said to us, hey, there's enough fat to freeze in this world for all of us to win, and we still really hold on to that credo, and Bodify was born.
Yeah. And I think that abundant mindset has been one of the things that's really allowed us to thrive. We think there's enough fat to freeze for everybody to win, so we're willing to share, some of the strategies that we use, and we're also just know intrinsically that we believe we can get anybody the best result if they go and do Cool Sculpting. So when other competitors or anybody else comes into the market, we just still believe that we're the best, not only through the experience but also in the results that we deliver. And so we believe that the more competitors, the better. But something that I've never really shared before that was really exciting for me is my sister had all the business background with Cool Sculpting. She had basically run my uncle's practice. That's one thing she didn't tell you, so Thanksgiving is super awkward. That's who we try to buy the business from. Just joking, he's a rock star. But something that she did is said, hey, I'm gonna go out and do this business. And so I wrote this huge long proposal, and I asked she and her husband to come to dinner with me, and I basically laid out 3 different options. And the one option which I really wanted her to choose, which was, hey, will you let me join this ship with you, and can we split it 50-50? And to my surprise and probably her sadness, just joking, she said yes, and Bodify was born.
Yeah, I always say if I were to run the Cool Sculpting and start the Cool Sculpting business by myself, I never would have taken off. And if Jess did it, it would take off, it would crash
and then
burn in about 3 seconds. So we're a good team.
We are. All right, favorite question. Have you ever personally tried Cool Sculpting on yourself?
Yes. So I've been doing Cool Sculpting, performing the treatment for 9 years. My very first treatment that I had was on my lower abdomen. I did it 9 years ago, and that's really when I fell in love with it. Since then, I've done my love handles, I've done my chin, I've done this kind of bra fat here in the front, the armpit fat. I just did my abs and my love handles about 3 weeks ago, and I'm already noticing results, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I always say I've done it more times than I care to admit. I work out, I eat right, and just like the vast majority of our clients, there's just certain areas that don't really budge, and I just want to feel and look my best, so I'm happy to use a non-invasive technology that really hits the mark and gets me the results that I want.
But we always laugh because we're doing Cool Sculpting day in, day out, 6, sometimes even 7 days a week, so it's kind of like the cobbler with no shoes, and we just
really don't sit around all day and freeze ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. We wish you did, but we don't. All right, so question over here from Kevin. Thanks, Kevin. Are there plans to open a 3rd location?
Oh my gosh, thanks, Kevin, said nobody ever. So we just opened location number 2 in May, and Melissa, as she said, she's not a quick start. She's very slow, methodical. I want everything laid out. I want to know exactly every possibility that could potentially happen before we pull the trigger. And perfect. Literally, like 3 weeks after we opened the 2nd location, she was like, well, when are we doing our 3rd? And so our roles really switched because I was like, you're nuts. Like, there's not 3 sisters who want to run Bodify. We do have a wonderful 3rd sister, but she's off doing her own thing. And so I was a little bit more gun shy, but we just think the model works. Something that I love is not only do we get to uplift clients and prospects, but I heard a statistic from Dave Ramsey that 70% of people who go to work hate their job. Every single Monday they dread it. And so for me, we get to play a big game, and we have the responsibility to create a lot of locations so we can actually employ people and have a team that loves what they do.
Yeah, and I know Jess said that, wait, are you crazy? We don't have a 3rd sister that wants to do it. Hello, Kim, want to come join us?
Come on, come from Texas.
But I do. I think we have an awesome staff, and I think that we've really perfected this model, and we really know how to do great customer service. We're experts at Cool Sculpting, so we just have a great team that can help us open a 3rd location. So stay tuned.
Yeah, and not to belabor that point, but someone asked us the other day, well, what happens if Cool Sculpting's not the bee's knees next year, in 2 years or 3 years, or there's, competitive technology? And Melissa and I have always said, yes, we eat, live, sleep, and breathe Cool Sculpting, but make no mistake about it. We are a sales organization, a marketing organization, and a client experience organization, so we feel because that model is so rock solid, whatever technology is going to serve the population best is the technology that we're going to be offering.
Awesome.
Yep. Me, what is the most common conflict in working together? Live and love in AZ.
That is a really good question. We honestly, like hardly ever fight. And before we opened Bodify, I could count on like one hand the number of times that we fight or fought. But since we've opened Bodify, a few more times. I don't know, I think it's when we don't stay in our own lane. When I try and cross into her lane and she tries to cross into my lane, I think that is when some conflicts can arise.
Yeah, and for me, I think there's really 2 issues. I'm highly competitive by nature, and Cool Sculpting, if you're a provider out there, it is seasonal, and so I think sometimes during our slower season, I get a little bit more maniacal, I get a little bit more, I'm gonna hover over you and see what everybody's doing, and I just get a little bit anxious about, Bodify getting up and running on all cylinders, and so I think I can definitely be a little bit more snippy with that. And something that I don't know if it really creates conflict, but make no mistake about it, when you have a business, it's a baby. And so I don't really know how to separate myself from that. So I think even on Sunday morning when we're on vacation, like I'm constantly business, business, business. And I know for my sister and her husband and my husband sometimes are like, whoa, you just have to unplug from that. And for me, it just never isn't at the top of my mind and on the tip of my tongue. And so I think sometimes that can create conflict too. She's like, well, let's just like go out and have a night and not be business centric.
Yeah, let's shut up during our massage and not talk to each other.
Hey, Melissa, guess what? No, just we don't do couples massages, I promise.
All right, so this is why did you go into Cool Sculpting instead of another business?
Yeah, so Melissa, as I said, worked for a different provider and offered Cool Sculpting. She literally called me one day and she's like, hey, we got this new device, it gets rid of fat, hung up the phone, and I was there in like 30 seconds. And I think that even though that's a silly story, that's really representative of how the general population feels. Allergan did a study, and I think it's 88% of people have at least one spot on their body that they're frustrated with. And so this wasn't a small niche product that, you know, a small number of people in the marketplace wanted. People everywhere have parts on their bodies that they don't like and they want to change. And for me, it was very important that it was a consistent and predictable technology, most importantly, because we decided to guarantee a result. So if we offered a technology that didn't work or missed the mark or was painful or wasn't consistent or predictable, provided the right people were doing the treatment, then all of a sudden our business model was going to fall apart. And she had great experience with it. I think the science was there. I mean, I've never ever seen a non-invasive fat reduction technology that works as well as Cool Sculpting, and until there's something else, this is our technology.
Yeah, and I came from the liposuction world, and so just watching people go through the recovery after liposuction, while it works wonderfully, but there's a substantial amount of downtime. And so the fact that I had Cool Sculpting on myself and I was literally at the gym an hour later doing a kickboxing class, that just was like a huge light bulb moment for me, is that people do not want the risk and they don't want the downtime of surgery. And the fact that we can get you a liposuction type result by doing Cool Sculpting multiple times on a same area, I mean, it was, to me, it was, this is the way of the future. And so that's why we jumped on the Cool Sculpting bandwagon.
Yeah, and after 18,000 treatments, we can say the number of people who categorically do not respond to Cool Sculpting is so small. And for us, that's really important because we only offer one technology, and it's what, our reputation rests on. So good question. All right, Miss Melissa, Comfy.Baker would like to know, do you need a part-time CMA, so Certified Medical Assistant?
Well, we are always looking for new staff, especially if we're going to open up number 3. So just send in your resumes.
Yeah, something that is interesting, and I think it's a good point for us, is a lot of Cool Sculpting providers, as we've said, they have a different model, and a lot of them have medical spas, or they do invasive surgery or invasive procedures. So they bring medical people in and they say, hey, we're going to put you in this role, in this role, in this role. And Melissa and I have always really had the McDonald's theme. We absolutely believe that your team is the most important thing you have. As I said, my parents were entrepreneurs growing up, and they said, treat your team right and treat your clients right, and you will absolutely win. And so we've really taken that to heart. So from our philosophy, we actually hire no one unless they're starting at the front desk, because that is where Bodify comes to life. That very first interaction, that first impression is absolutely critical, because there's a lot of other people who offer Cool Sculpting. People are coming in, they're burying their parts that they hide, that they're ashamed of, and so it's really important for us that we're not judgmental, that we're welcoming, and we have a completely and vastly different experience than anybody else. So we bring people in who have servant's heart. We start them there so they can be indoctrinated in our culture and they really understand the business from all angles, and then they get to work their way up and have that brightness of future so that they can be with us for a very long time.
Yeah, good answer.
Thanks. Nailed it.
Nailed it. All right, so this is from Bridget, D1218. Are you trying out Cool Tone?
Good question. So Melissa got involved with Cool Sculpting, nearly 9 years ago at this point, and it just celebrated its 10th year anniversary. And guess what? People are still out there buying the machines because there's still a market opportunity. So for us, yes, we're early adopters, but we don't want to be the earliest adopter. And I think the technology sounds wonderful, but for our model, we're not very clear if it's something that we want to bring in, number one. Number two, tons of people come to us because we're Cool Sculpting only, and they really want to work with the expert, as they should when they're non-invasively removing fat. And then number three is, I believe that one of the things we do best with Cool Sculpting is we're very good at marketing, and make no mistake about it, Cool Tone is going to be marketing to a very different demographic than Cool Sculpting. It's not that we don't want to do it, it's just that we want to kind of see who that demographic is, how everything kind of falls into place and then decide if it's something that we want to pursue. But it's on the
Yeah,
radar, but
it's
not
on the radar.
right away.
I would love to try it on myself, and I really want to see a lot of before and after photos and talk to people that have it in their office just to make sure that it is a great technology and that we can stand behind it and that we can put our beautiful results promise, guarantee wrapped around it. And we're not going to do that unless we 100% know that it's awesome technology. Cool Tone, for those of you who don't know, it's MMS, right?
Yeah.
Magnetic muscle stimulation. So it's kind of like the Apptronics of yesteryear, where you place the app or the handpiece device on the abdomen. You're going to get about 20,000 muscle contractions in about a 30-minute period. So it just helps build and stimulate muscle, and so you can get a booty lift, you can get that six-pack that you're looking for. I know that they're looking at different body parts that you can use it on, but stay tuned again.
Exactly. And from a business perspective, if you're a CoolSculpting provider, I think it has a lot of legs because it's going to be more of a subscription-based model. Something Melissa and I always say every month about CoolSculpting is, guess what? It works. So unless people want a more dramatic result or they want to move on to different body parts, our clients are happy. They're not coming back month after month, year after year, because the technology actually works. So the top of our funnel or those leads, we're constantly having to market to fill it because we don't necessarily retain clients for years and years and years. But something else that is my personal hope, and we'll see if I'm right or not, I think that a lot of people in Arizona, I wouldn't consider them competitors, but I would consider them CoolSculpting providers. I think they're going to latch onto Cool Tone. I think they're going to market it heavily, and my hope is that they kind of take their eye off CoolSculpting, and then we can go in and pick up even more market share. But we shall see.
All right, next question.
Next question. How many treatments do people purchase on average? And that's from Kayla.
All right, Kayla. So we always recommend coming in for a complimentary consultation. We always say CoolSculpting really depends on three things: what your treatment plan is going to be, what area frustrates you, how much fat you have on that area, and then what you want the final result to be, or how much fat do you want to go away. And so treatment plans can vary from person to person. If you just look out on the street, you see people with all different shapes and sizes, and the number of treatments that they're going to need, it will vary person to person. I would say the very bare minimum is usually 4 applicators on one person, and they're doing it 2 times. So every time that you do CoolSculpting, you're seeing about a 20% reduction in the fat cell layer. And while that's awesome, we like it, sign me up for that. Most people want to do a second treatment where they're getting closer to half of the fat going away when they do that second treatment.
Yeah, it's just a much more visible reduction if you do it twice.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things, that I love analogies, and sometimes people come in, they're like, oh my gosh, I need a full bodysuit, my entire body bothers me. And guess what? That's going to be a massive, massive investment for a lot of people. And so something that we've tried to do at Bodify is really ratchet that back and say, hey, when you're getting naked, when you're getting into a bathing suit, when you're slipping into your clothes, what are the 1 or 2 areas that really frustrate you? And let's concentrate the treatment on those 1 or 2 areas so we can get a really marked and visible transformation. It's like if you have this huge sheet cake, right? And your budget is the icing and you try and spread it out over that 10-inch sheet cake, well, it's not that impressive. But if you take that sheet cake and turn it into a little muffin and all of a sudden you use that same icing, it's just much more tasty and dramatic. And so we really try and steer people in the right direction, because at the end of the day, if our clients aren't happy, we don't have a business. And so it's up to us to have integrity, to be honest, but also to set realistic expectations and be transparent. Good question.
Yeah, great question. All right, so this is from One Sierra. What advice do you have for someone transitioning into a CoolSculpting position?
Lots of advice. I don't think we have enough time.
Join our academy.
So I think the biggest thing that people have to have is heart, and I know that might sound silly, but it really is true. I think if you have an aesthetic eye and you have heart, you're going to navigate those waters and you're going to end up in the right place. I think as a salesperson, because you will absolutely be a salesperson, when you're talking to people, listen to their stories. People buy emotionally and justify logically, and all too often people will sit down and say, hey, what areas frustrate you? Okay, good, let's write that down. All right, let's go check them out. But the truth is, there's always a story behind that banana roll or the double chin or the under the arms or the teacups or the abdomen. And again, because people buy emotionally and justify logically, you have to connect those dots with people. We've all had the experience where someone's like, I don't care what this costs, I'm absolutely doing it. It frustrates the heck out of me. You lay out that number and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, it doesn't bother me that much. So as a salesperson, if you truly believe that you have the solution, which I know Melissa and our staff and I do believe we have, it's up to you to connect those dots and not put pressure on someone, but make them a little uncomfortable. Remind them that they just told you, guess what? I won't be intimate with my my wife. I won't go to a family reunion. I don't want to fly back to my class reunion because this spot makes me feel so uncomfortable and I can't change it. Well, guess what? From my perspective, a blank investment is absolutely worth that transition because you're just going to be a better person when you feel better in your own skin.
Yeah, and I think, for us, when we're transitioning somebody from front desk into an actual CoolSculpting tech position, we do a lot of shadowing.
Yeah.
So if you have the opportunity to do that, I would highly suggest it. Any of our technicians, before they are working on their own clients without anybody else around, have thousands and thousands of hours of watching, of assisting, of massaging before they can just take the reins and go. So I think you can learn a lot by osmosis. So just get in there, watch how the technician is assessing, watch how they're using, what kind of language they're using, watch how they're kind of painting the picture of what the transformation is going to be, see how they're positioning people and getting them comfortable, how they talk them through that uncomfortable massage part. So I think just if you have the opportunity, shadowing is a huge, huge bonus.
Yeah, and kind of to go off of that too, and I think that's a really great point. I think scripting is really important. There's a framework that Bodify uses. We always say we don't do anything sexy. We simply mastered the mundane. That's not my phrase, it's someone else's phrase, and I love the guy, so I stole it from him. But we really have mastered the mundane. What we do on a daily basis is methodical, it's a system. Einstein always says doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is insanity. But if you're getting the result you want, then doing the same thing over and over again is really something that you should latch on and figure out exactly the step-by-step process, not only so that you have it, but so you can share it with other people and they can fall in line with that process and that strategy. But I think the more you get comfortable with the talk tracks and how to handle objections, the more role play you do, the better you're gonna do. Sports teams do it all the time, right? They don't go out and practice. They have a playbook and they sit there and literally practice over and over and over again. They don't go out on the field with the NFL Super Bowl and say, oh, this is the first time we're going to try this. They've done it behind the scenes multiple times, and so we can't, quite frankly, understand why businesses just kind of send people out there with no playbook. It's not going to work.
Yeah, and practice, speaking of which, if you have staff in the office or if you have friends and family that you can give a discounted rate to, start with them and start learning on them and doing the treatment and bringing it back in for their after photos and kind of learning from that.
And just one last thing, Melissa taught me how to do CoolSculpting, so I never was really nervous because she was always in the room kind of correcting me. But something that I had to really, really entrench in my mind and remember, the moment you place that applicator, you are not freezing fat until you hit the start button. So if you place that applicator and you're like, man, I just don't know if that drew up the tissue right or if the position's correctly, it is absolutely okay to take it off. The patient, the client, they don't know if you're supposed to do that or not, but you can absolutely put it on there, do that suction, take it off and say, hey, is this actually where I want that placement? Because CoolSculpting works. We all know this, so good or wrong, when you remove that fat, it's gone, and the last thing you want is to leave someone with a bad outcome, so it's okay to go slow and make sure you're doing it right.
Yeah, just to plug Bodify Academy a little bit more, we do our on-site group trainings, and then we also have the on-site one-on-one shadowing day. So if you would like to learn some of the tricks of the trade and some of the things that Bodify does that were successful, come and join us for the day.
All right, so Miss Beth has asked us, were you scared when you did your first treatment on a client?
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Were you scared?
Yeah, I think if you're not scared, that's a little weird. Robert Kiyosaki is a professional speaker who speaks in front of tens of thousands of people, and he said the moment you get on stage and you're not nervous or scared, he's like, something is very wrong. You are dealing with someone's body, and you want them to have a great result, so I think having a little bit of that trepidation just keeps you very in it and very precise. So
Yeah.
I think it's an absolutely okay thing to say. Maybe change it from scared to excitement, but still having that same level of care.
Yeah, I still remember my very first treatment 9 years ago. I was driving to the office and I was over and over in my head, going through the steps that I needed to do, the verbiage that I needed to say, during the consultation, what questions I needed to ask, and then putting that applicator on for the first time, which was the old legacy applicator.
Big
the
suction.
poor guy, his eyes popped out of his head. He's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, no, I still remember it very well, but just repetition,
Absolutely.
and what do they say, over 10,000 hours makes you a master. So
You'll
just
get
keep
there
going.
step by step. Next question?
I'm all out of questions. How about you?
Ooh, then I have one more. No, never mind. That was the same one. Do you want to
Same
have more
one?
locations?
In AZ, yes, we would like to have more locations in AZ. And if you live in Arizona and you have a place that you want us to go, just shoot us a
Let
little
us know.
message.
Yeah, the only thing I think we've contemplated is right now both of our offices have a 2,000 foot, square foot imprint, and so we're toying with the idea of what would satellite offices look like. Again, the team is the most important thing, but we're just trying to figure out how can we be most effective, how can we get to areas of the valley that need great cool school themed places the most, and how do we expand this business, because no doubt we're going to play a big game. Freeze lots of fat.
Awesome. On that note, thank you for joining us for our sister sit down.
Woo woo!